Hear me? Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the ambassador, the chief scientist, and of course Yossi Vardi for their opening remarks. It's a pleasure to be here today. We've put together, thanks to Alex, where is she, from the Commission, a great panel for a discussion today about the venture capital, its role in the ecosystem, and equally important, the changes that are happening in the venture capital industry or the funding industry in general. To do that, we have a great panel from Europe and from Israel, who will introduce themselves in a minute. And after that, we'll get going. My suggestion would be the following. We'll go briefly, one by one. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves. We have here people who are sophisticated and very successful. So you can brag about your achievements. If there are any failures you care to mention, you could also do that, but you don't have to. And once we finish doing the whole tour here, I guess it'll be time for a coffee break, but we'll take it from there. The approach we'd like to do is to raise a few topics that have already been shared between us, discuss them, learn from each other, learn about best practices, get new ideas, and also be open to a discussion. So I'd welcome any question, suggestion, provocation that may come from the participants here as well, and we can make it interactive as we go. So without further ado, why don't we begin introducing ourselves and we'll get going. Ilan, please.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Adam Fisher. I'm a partner at Bessemer Venture Partners, a global venture capital firm based in the U.S., but I'm based here in Israel. Not too much to say, except we're a very active investor in Israel. I've invested about 20 companies over the last 7 years, approximately $200 million.
Hi, my name is Imre Hild. I'm here from Budapest, Hungary. I spent 10 years of my life in the US studying and working there. Then I returned to Hungary, formed 2 companies in the total market value of $200 million. Right now, I'm the CEO of iCatapult, which is a hybrid company, hybrid between training, seed funding, and business development for Central European startups. And I'm looking forward to speaking with people who are interested in helping Central European teams to reach the global markets.
Yahal Zilka from Magma Venture Partners, early stage venture fund, and we invest in primarily in ICT.
My name is Pekka Roine. After my 20 corporate years at a small computer company called Digital Equipment, that some of you may have heard of, which committed suicide in the late 90s, being the second largest at the time. I've been an independent for the last 20 years. I call myself a startup activist. Included here is I've helped start 2 VCs. I'm not active with either one anymore. I've been on the boards of maybe 25 startups, very often as the chairman. And the list here says that I'm also the chairman for the Foundation for Finnish Inventions. And I think this invention side is very important because every innovation needs an invention as a basis, and we need to discuss that.
Good morning. My name is Robert Cohen, Managing Director of Benson Oak Capital. I have a complicated geo story. I'm American, lived in Prague 18 years, and I'm now living in Israel. Benson Oak is active in Czech Republic. AVG, antivirus company, was our big deal, has a big office in Israel, which I worked on incorporating when I was with AVG. And now I'm living in Israel doing early stage consumer startups, mainly technology, and we take a hands-on role with our investments.
Good morning. I'm Ilan Goudsmit, a venture capitalist based in Amsterdam. My partners were running before Animal. Maybe you heard of them. They were running shows like Big Brother, like on the television production side. And they've done over 60 acquisitions during that time and started a venture capital firm afterwards, of which we've done 20 investments together. And basically most in Western Europe in B2C and also now software.
I'll go last.
Good morning. My name is Lucas Pilitsis, coming from Greece. I was abroad for 21 years, mainly in the US and London. Came back in late 2009, just 6 months before the big crisis came up in Greece to set up the venture capital and private equity group for the biggest bank in Greece, Piraeus Bank, focusing in technology and energy and some specific niche segments. I hope we'll get the chance to talk about it.
Good morning, I'm Gadi Mazor. I'm one of the founders and GPs at Our Crowd. It's a new fund started in Israel about a year and a half ago. We did 49 investments and 11 follow-on investments, investing a little over 70 million into the companies. It's a hybrid model between VC and angel investments with a large network of private money joining as one entity into companies.
Good morning. My name is Astori Modena from Terra Venture Partners. Terra is an early-stage fund focused on clean energy, sustainability, and healthcare. We invest now from our second fund. We already have 4 investments and 3 more to go. Originally, I'm actually from Italy. As you can see from my jacket, I still have some connection with Europe compared to some of my Israeli colleagues. That's it.
I got Tirosh. I'm a partner at JVP, one of the leading Israeli VCs. We're based in Jerusalem. We operate a later stage fund as well as 2 incubators, one based in Jerusalem and one based in Beersheba, very much focused on cybersecurity. Those 2 incubators create some of our new companies and feed them into the fund.
Thank you. My name is Chelouche. I'm managing partner with Aviv Ventures. Prior to that, I was the CEO of one of Israel's largest technology companies called Cytex. And today, I'm also the co-chair of IATI, the Israel Advanced Technology Industry Association. Our logo is here just next to the EU, so we're very honored to be up here. And as one of my professors at business school once told me, the life cycle of a graduate is big company, small company, not for profit. And we've done the same thing. So somewhere along that curve. So happy to open this panel. One of the themes we have here is dealing with change. And change is a constant in our environment today. And actually, we wouldn't have venture capital if there wasn't continuous change and disruption, because we live and die by our ability to surf these changes. So maybe to bracket that, talk about some of the ways things are changing, either in capital raising or in funding or in following companies. I'll start with you, Gadi. You used to be a fund, now you have incubators. You used to be in media, now you're in cyber. Now, I'm not sure how that is, but you know, as you go through these processes, talk to us about sort of the major changes that have been affecting your approach to the venture capital industry.
You know, we invest in high tech, and I think we expect our entrepreneurs and our startups to adapt to new conditions and change with technology. So I think it's very natural that as the investors behind many of those startups and the guys that help create many of those companies, we need to change with them as things evolve. And that, as you identified, you have spans actually across multiple dimensions. First of all, I think as Israelis and the group that is investing in companies primarily out of Israel, we always need to identify and be very honest with ourselves. What is the competitive edge of Israel? So if at the end of the 90s, it was the big telecommunication technology that primarily shifted out of our military units and defense industries to power a lot of the telecom infrastructure, as things evolve, I think we need to identify always our new competitive edge. So whether it's in the media space, where Israel can actually be the buffer between some of the very interesting core technologies we have in Israel to the content world, or whether it's in the cyberspace, where Israel enjoys quite a lot of clout, as you know, in the cyberspace. And actually, if you look around at where people are willing to buy the cyber technology from, there aren't that many places. we know we're not going to have strong competition from China on cyber technologies, because in the near future, not too many people are going to buy the defense technologies from China. So this is one dimension we need to evolve in. I think the other dimension also has to do with the way we do investments. And I think as venture capitalists, we always need to work against the grain and do the contrarian thing. And one of the things that we established in JVP is actually not just waiting for deal flow to come to us, but be very proactive in creating our own deal flow. And we do that primarily through those two incubators. The one in Jerusalem is focused very much on enterprise software and media. And the one we just started in Beersheba, beginning of the year, in what's becoming, I know from Tel Aviv it looks very far away, but from Europe and from the US it's actually look a bit closer. But Beersheba, slowly but surely, is becoming a very interesting ecosystem for the generation of a new cyber industry. Very proud to be part of this ecosystem, and from the beginning of the year, we invested in 4 new startups out of Beersheba, already operating in the place, cooperating with the likes of EMC and Oracle and IBM and other people who created the design centers over there.
And just as a follow-on question, as you look at funding and you look at cyber, do you see a change or a shift in people that you invest with? Are there corporations coming in, or is it straight VCs? Tell us a bit the sort of the partnerships you pull together.
So, I think in the VC industry, there is always a big dilemma whether you allow strategics to co-invest with you, yes or not. We're part of the camp that actually likes strategic investments in our companies early on. We think we got to the right balance of how much involvement and how much benefits our startup gets from those strategics without hijacking their agenda, which is something that we need to be very careful about. So I would say that in the last 12 months, we've invested together with Intel, EMC, GE, Cisco. All of them came into 1 or 2 or more of our startup companies. And I think it gives a lot of validation to a young startup company as they plowing their direction moving forward.
Interesting. So that's a change. We don't know if it's successful yet, but it looks like something's happening there.
Well, I think we have a few evidence of success already, like Extreme.io, that EMC was a partner of us from day one, ended up being the acquirer of the company, and I think it was a very successful outcome for us. But as importantly, it was a very successful outcome for EMC, and something that I think keep their appetite for doing more and more storage investments out of Israel.